Hello everyone. Sunday's video is going to be a bit, it's not too dark, it's so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the 5 strangest Hollywood deaths. Now there are obviously more strange deaths in Hollywood, it's just these 5 in particular are deemed as strange. 2 are linked. If you haven't figured out who, you'll figure out soon because it's the first 2. And then the other 3 are relatively recent, 2016, 2010, 12, and what was the other one? I'll also put some links down below as well for you, for information on each case. So you've got one that happened in 1973, you've got one that happened in 1993, 2013, 2012 and 2016. What I'll do is I'll start with the oldest one first and then go from there. The oldest one being the death of Bruce Lee, who was born on the 27th of November 1940 and he died on the 20th of July 1973. Now there is a bit of contention as to the cause of death in his case. I couldn't find the autopsy. If I have found the autopsy, I will put a link down below for it. But he died in China. I think it was in China, and which is where he originally comes from. Although I think he was either half or a quarter white, or Caucasian, should I say. But he was in the process of filming a film, and the reigning theory and the medical reason behind it is he took a tablet to get rid of a headache he'd had. He then went to lie down and never woke up. They found him struggling to breathe or not breathing. A couple of hours later, they managed to get his heart beating again. He was in a coma for a couple of days and then died. Some people say it was an allergic reaction, some people say it was poison, some people say it was a hit by the mafia over in China. I was going to say the Yakuza, but that's Japan. But there's a lot of questions surrounding Bruce's death, and a lot of people do question A, whether he did actually kill himself or not, B, why did he die in such a strange way, why was it so shrouded in mystery and so on. It is one of those things that we probably will never know the answer to, because I can't see Shannon Lee or him or Linda Lee Cadwell, I think she's called now, will allow our exhumation for people to be put at peace for the reason behind the death. When he died, his son was 8, and I think his daughter was 5 or 6. I think there's a couple of years between Shannon Lee and Brandon Lee. I know of the Lees because I was raised watching martial arts films. That is one thing that me and my brother did have in common, was our love for martial arts films. If you come to this house, you will see a lot of Brandon Lee films, you will see a lot of Dolph Lundgren films. I loved Brandon Lee, and I always will. But that's the next case I'm going to talk about. But there's a lot of issues, especially because both father and son died in sort of similar ways. People are saying that it was a curse, that there was a dragon that killed them while they were in a coma, etc. So, but like I say, I'll leave a couple of links down below for each case, for a newspaper article and various other bits of information for you to check out yourself. These deaths are strange enough for me to be like, what? Right, with Brandon Lee, he was born on the 1st of February 1965, he died on the 31st of March 1993, not long before he was due to get married. He was due to marry his fiancée. He was 28 when he died, and it was 20 years after his father died. He was filming The Crow, and there's a scene where he confronts one of the people that killed his character Eric Draven, and this person is supposed to shoot him into the gut, and they'd done a close-up shot of the gun shooting, and then what they hadn't realised is that the blank casing had got lodged. Now, I could be getting the specifics of this wrong, but this is what I understand it as. Or they've got the casing stuck in the gun, and then when the next blank went in to when they actually filmed him shooting it, when the blank went in, it fired the casing. It went through his abdomen and lodged into his spine. There is actually a good documentary on YouTube about this, so I'll post that above. I'll post that below as well. I'm trying to remember to put it in the iCard. It was lodged in his spine. He suffered severe abdominal trauma and bleeding. He got to the hospital. He went into surgery. I think he either died in surgery or died shortly after. Obviously there was a lawsuit. The footage is either locked away or it's been destroyed. The film was finished using his stunt double and the CGI that they had back in the 90s, which wasn't great, but it was good enough for the film to be extremely good. If he hadn't died, he would have been extremely popular and he would have made it proud. He was an extremely good martial artist and he was extremely graceful. There's actually a film he did with Dolph Lundgren, and it's one of my favourites. And it's also the reason why I can't listen to the song. For God's sake. I don't listen to it that often, that's why I can't remember it off the top of my head. I don't remember, but it's a song out of that. And one of the songs from The Crow I can't listen to either, which is It Can't Rain All the Time, because they both make me cry. And there's only a handful of songs that ever make me cry, and those are two songs that make me cry. I was a huge fan of Brandon Lee before and after his death. He was awesome. He was a great actor. He was destined for great things, but unfortunately he was also destined not to live that long. He is also part of the 28 Club, which is it's a club of actors that died at the age of 28, which is horrible, obviously. It also involves people like Heath Ledger and so on. People do go on to question why. The actor who shot the blank actually stopped acting for several years afterwards because he couldn't live with it. The actor in question died not long ago, and he was a good actor, but obviously the guilt of killing somebody, especially the son of a legend, is going to be quite high in that instance. I only hope that they've made friends wherever they are. But it is one of those cases that people also scratch their head at, because there's a parallel between the Brandon and Bruce Lee's cases, and the fact that it happened like 20 years apart, and it happened very similar, and it's weird. Some people call it as weird. People say that it was a curse, which is the way that they covered it in the old Bruce Lee story that they did with Jason Scott Lee. But there we go. Right. Next one is Paul Walker. Paul Walker was born on September 12th, 1973 and died on the 30th of November 2013. No, I've done it wrong. Bugger. I'll do the person that I should have just done. He was in his Porsche with a friend, which is Rodas. Rodas was driving, they were speeding down the street, they lost control of the car, it slammed into I think it was a street sign or a tree, smashed in, I think at about 70 or 80 miles an hour, or even more than that. I think it might have been 100 and a odd, I'm not sure. And then the car blew up, causing both to die. He died, Rodas died on impact, probably from the sheer impact of going from like God knows how many miles an hour to 0. Paul Walker died from both traumatic and heat injuries, which means he would have been injured by the crash, and then when the fire started, that was probably what would have killed him, and pretty quickly. There is footage of the crash. I'm not going to put that in. I'll let you look that up yourself if you have the stomach for it. But they both died in the fire. it rocked everybody in Hollywood, especially somebody he'd grown very close to, which was Vin Diesel, who I'm a big fan of. And it was heartbreaking for Vin because Vin and Paul become very much like brothers. And then they continued, they took some time off doing the Fast and Furious film they were doing, which was 7. And then they spoke to Paul's family and said, right, these are the options. And they said, finish the film. And what they did is they used Paul's brothers, because he has 2 brothers and 2 or 3 brothers, and they all look very similar. So they used one of the brothers and then put Paul's face on his when they needed to do close-ups, which is how they did the side-by-side car thing. And that hurt a lot of people. The song that they used for that film is another song I can't watch. I do watch it occasionally, but which is the Charlie Puth and Ludacris, I think it is, or Little Wayne. It's an awesome song, but I can't watch it, and it's definitely one of those that you just feel that. And he was a well-loved actor. I think the first thing I ever watched him in was Dawson's Creek, and then I watched him in Skulls with Joshua Jackson. And then obviously I watched some of his films after that, and he was a good actor. He had a lot of promise. I do think he got pigeonholed quite quickly with the fast films. With a bit of luck, people will learn from this. I know there have been accidents similar since, but the one that I should have done third was an actor called Johnny Lewis. Now, I knew of him because there's a film I have of him which he's in. I think it's over there behind my printers. He's also been in a lot of other programs. He's been in Criminal Minds, Serial Killer, and all sorts. I think he was also in Sons of Anarchy. He was very distinctive because he had dark hair, but his eyebrows were blonde, so it's quite weird. And he was quite a weird actor. And he looked quite weird. He was born on the 29th of October 1983, and he died on the 20th of September 2012. Now, what happened is, I think it was drug and alcohol related. What he did is, he was high. He had this frenzy and weird episode. He killed his landlady and jumped off the balcony of his house onto the concrete floor of the driveway and killed himself. It's weird because he was literally at the beginning of his career and he had the promise to be an extremely good actor. He just didn't have, like Heath Ledger and Brandon did, where they had the roles where it blew them up either just before the death. It's like Heath Ledger had been acting for years and he'd had several roles prior to his death, like The Joker, Brokeback Mountain, and several others that literally just exploded everything. The same with Brandon. He'd been doing, the films he'd been doing had been getting better and better, and then he did The Crow and that just blew up. And if he hadn't died, well, he would have been at the top of his game. But it's one of those things that this case is weird to me because it was just so strange. Like I said, I'll leave the news reports down below. But it is such a strange case. Now, most of you probably don't know who I'm on about. I'll leave a link down to his IMDb down below, and it will show you who it is. And you've probably recognised him and see, oh, he was in such and such. Because he's been in a lot of things as he's been in guest just in one episode type things, and it's weird. And the episode of Criminal Minds he was in was awesome, because he played this serial killer who killed people and then took his girlfriend to those locations, and so and number 5 is Anton Yelchin. Now most of you probably know about this because it only happened last year. This is the Star Trek actor. He was born on the 11th of March 1989, and he died on the 19th of June 2016. Now, what happened is he was either driving to his house or away from his house, but he'd got out of his car, put it in neutral but not put the handbrake on. And apparently the car, when you get out of the car and it's not got the handbrake on, or if you wait on the driver's seat, it's supposed to alert to tell you to put your handbrake on, but it didn't. So he got out thinking he put the handbrake on, went round to get his post out to his letterbox. He stood in between the fence and the car, and then because the handbrake wasn't on, the car went and squashed him. And a couple of hours later, they realised at the studio where he was doing a film, oh, he's not shown up yet. So one of them went to check on him and found him impaled dead between the car and the gate. And it's one of those that you're like, oh God. There is question on how they're going to deal with it in Star Trek itself. There is speculation that they're actually going to say, oh, he died in an accident, blah blah blah, in the actual film, because they don't want to replace the character with somebody else. So it's one of those things that we shall see what happens, but it is a strange death. I don't know whether the company's been made responsible or not, I'm not sure, or if they've had some backlash. They probably have, but it's one of those cases that you're like, these cases all have different things. I know with each one of them, except for the Johnny Lewis, there is wild, erratic hypotheses and theories that they're not dead, that they're faked to the death, or it was assassinations, etc. Especially with the leads, especially Bruce Lee, because he was one of the first people to bring martial arts to Hollywood, and he kind of opened the door for all the other people who do martial arts now, including Brandon. And it's weird how us as humans can essentially make something bigger than it actually is. It sounds weird, but what I mean by that is, we as humans can say, right, such and such somebody died, but they didn't die of that, they died of this, but when they didn't. It's like when a celebrity dies, if I can find the autopsy report, I'll look at the autopsy report and make my own decision. I won't take somebody else's interpretation of that autopsy report as gospel until I've read it myself. Obviously I have the background to be able to understand autopsies, which helps. There are sometimes there's words I don't understand, just type them into Google and it tells me what they mean. But it's one of those things that when it comes to cases, especially with the leads, the word assassination gets thrown around a lot. It was thrown around with Paul as well, and it's just strange. And the human mind and the imagination that the human mind is capable of is astounding to me. It's shocking and surprising, and I love it, but I hate it at the same time. It's weird. So, tomorrow's Murder Case Monday is probably going to be Martha Moxley, that should have been last Monday, but wasn't. I just wanted to do the auto case. I haven't decided. No, I have decided who next week's Trash Talking Tuesday is going to be on. I just need to do some research. This will be going up Sunday. So if you like these darker episodes, let me know down below. I haven't gone too much into details. If you want me to go into details of either these or other deaths, let me know down below. And if I can find the autopsy report, then I will do, and I'll try and explain the autopsy report for you. So, with that being said, stay safe, be good, have fun, and I will see you tomorrow.